Hi, this is Heather and Julie, creators of the Happy Sleeper approach.
So we're going to list 4 common myths about baby sleep, and we're going to debunk them. The first one is your baby is never going to sleep through the night until they're 1 year old or older, right?
This could not be further from the truth, but we hear it all the time, which is that parents hear that they're not going to sleep for a long time, or that some babies just take a really long time to figure out how to sleep independently.
Some babies are bad sleepers. You hear all these things that make it sound, it's hard. The first 5 months are hard. But once your baby is 5 months old, they are very, very, very capable of falling asleep independently, which is key to good sleep.
I think that sometimes parents hear that maybe they have a difficult, like if they're having a hard time with sleep, then they have this concept maybe, or they hear from other people like, oh yeah, my baby didn't sleep through the night until they were 1.5 years. And it's, they hear negative messages about sleep. So then they think, well, maybe it's just my baby and maybe we just are gonna have a hard time with this and it's gonna take a really long time. And I think the longer you go not sleeping well and those habits become reinforced, you start to feel like we're never gonna sleep.
You feel hopeless.
And you start to feel hopeless.
But we see time and time again, and this is what our approach is all about. We want you to wait until we know your baby's capable, 5 months and older. And then if you follow the sleep wave in a very organized and confident and consistent way, baby's sleep improves very quickly. It's like a flip gets switched. They go from reaching out externally, thinking they need your help, to letting their natural abilities pull them into sleep. And that's what their brains and bodies want to do. And it happens so well, so predictably. Naps can take a little bit longer, but the naps will improve if you stay consistent and hold on to the pattern. So we just don't want parents to suffer needlessly when, all these outside messages are telling you, well, you're just gonna be sleep deprived for a whole year or longer.
Don't believe it. Don't believe it.
It's just not true.
Second myth is that your baby needs some kind of special suit to wear, like they need a special sleep sack or something, and that is going to help them sleep.
Right. So we are not like anti-sleep sack, but we don't really understand why sleep sacks are so popular, because once your baby's unswaddled, what we want for them more than anything is to be free to move, because what's going to help them become independent sleepers is getting their bodies into the comfy position they choose. And the more free they are to move, the sooner that will happen.
We normally recommend that parents go from swaddles, and swaddling is fine. And if it's helping your baby sleep, that's great. But once they start to be able to attempt to roll or move, and you see them in floor time, they're starting to roll to their side, it's great. It's a whole new chapter, which means that we're going to take the sleep sacks away. We're not going to use anything weighted. We don't want any of those weighted gadgets. And now the goal is really for your baby to be totally free, like a little gymnast. So we typically just recommend footy pajamas, right? And if it's warm, then they could, you could literally wear a onesie in the summer if it's warm out and the air is very, but layer another pajama on top, and something that your baby, if you see your baby rolling around wildly in the crib, that's fantastic. That's what we want.
And believe me, we get it. It seems like, the sleep sacks are kind of cozy and it kind of feels like a transition from a swaddle, but we see it more like a turning point, like going from being swaddled to being completely free. And you will have those 3 to 4 nights where they're kind of wildly moving, but they settle down and they have much more ability not only to find their comfortable sleep position, but to do all that working out and exercising and practicing gross motor skills that they need the time and space to do. So it helps them develop mentally as well.
Another myth is that teething is always going to disrupt your baby's sleep.
Right, well, studies show it's something like 60% of babies' sleep is not affected by teething at all. So that is just a great starting point. Is cross your fingers, this time you can cross your fingers and hope that you have one of those babies, because most babies don't have their sleep change because of teething. And if they do, we can help. We know what to do to help babies to manage the pain during the night, during those usually about 2 to 3 nights when the tooth is actually cutting are the most painful for that 40% of the babies. But we don't want teething to totally throw us off track. When we're working on sleep, we want to manage the pain so that we can keep going forward, because teething goes on and on and on and on for a long time.
Yeah, teething does not have to disrupt sleep for most babies. And sometimes teething is what gets blamed for something that's actually more like an unhelpful sleep association or something that you have control over, like a new sleep habit that you can put in place, and your baby will not be affected by their teething, which is an ongoing thing.
So the last myth for today is the thought that your presence is helpful for your baby to fall asleep. It's really understandable.
It's true in the very beginning, right? Because when they're very little, when they're newborns, they often need a lot of help. They need our presence, but that quickly starts to change. And especially when babies, and you know when this is happening because they become very aware. They're aware of their surroundings in a whole new way, and you find that your presence is no longer calming to them. Of course, your presence is, they feel a secure attachment to you, but in terms of down regulating and actually falling asleep, your presence is no longer helpful. They become more activated and more interested because you're around.
Yeah, that's what we say. Your presence is activating to them. And it's hard to hear because we think, well, aren't we helpful by being close by? And we see this throughout baby and toddler development, especially one of the main times we see it, even for parents who have used the sleep wave when their baby is younger, when they move their child into a toddler bed, they don't know what to do because the child comes out of the room 50 times the first night. So what do? They stay in the room, they lie down with the child until they fall asleep, and now they've got a new unhelpful sleep association on their hand. So these are all fixable, and it's just a good myth to remember, just that your presence is going to be activating after a certain age.
So these are some myths about your baby's sleep. We would love to help you more and give you more information. If you got something out of this video, like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.